Greeting. This is with Ruby, the Nostalgia Catholic, with yet another Touched by an Angel episode. This one is called Tough Love. It's actually the fourth one made, but the third one broadcast. So I'm going by broadcast order, so this is next. And this little opening shot, you'll have seen it in some of their opening or closing credits as they're sitting around a table. It is at this opening scene that Monica is now introduced to another drink, coffee. She gets a dose of coffee, of espresso, and as Tess puts it, just good old straight Joe. And unlike the Tabasco sauce and the not wearing shoes bit, coffee goes on to become a motif that persists throughout the whole series and occasionally surfaces as an important motif, important aspect even to some stories. So let's meet our main characters. This lady here is Elizabeth Jessup. She has been a journalist over her life. She's traveled all sorts of fascinating, exotic places around the world, interviewed a lot of important and famous people, and I mean, she's just had a very interesting life, an enviable life. I mean, there's no getting around it. So, and you see her, she's got a couple of things to do. You see her with one of them, a cigarette in her hand. And that will come into play somewhat later on. Now, this is her daughter. Now, she's kind of had a grudge against her daughter all her life. Her daughter had the misfortune to be born at a most inconvenient time. It was the 6-Day War in Israel. It's a very famous war. And Elizabeth Jessup was ready to cover that, and suddenly, labor. She has to be flown out someplace else, have the baby, and after about a week or so, she's finally able to tear herself enough away from that to fly back in and show up just in time for the war is already over. And all this incredible journalistic opportunity didn't happen because she was busy having this daughter as a baby. So she's kind of resented the daughter ever since, and made the poor daughter feel unloved in a lot of ways. So we'll hear a little bit more on her side of things, but there's a lot that I think I'm going to leave. It's just, you should see the episode. Alright. One other important figure is the granddaughter. She has turned 7. She's just turning 7. The granddaughter and the grandmother just love each other very, very, very much. And so with that said, let's get some idea of what's going on here. When we're introduced to seeing all three of them together, we have our first little intervention. Monica prepares a good spread, lots of food, a beautifully set table, brings out some old chinaware that Elizabeth Jessup had forgotten she had. It's like, oh wow, I haven't seen that. Where'd that come from? Oh, I pulled it way out of the bag. He hadn't used it in years, so I thought I'd bring it out. And okay, well, looks great. It's impressive. Good job. And they come over, and it's supposed to be the birthday. Yeah, what about the cake? Yeah, let's have the cake. And she's all, okay. Monica, I'll get it. Goes in the kitchen, and we have another little intervention. There's no cake. Nobody mentioned anything about this being a birthday party. So she prepared all the food, set the table, was all ready to entertain. And then, there's supposed to be a birthday cake. So we have a little intervention here. Just looked at that ground there, at that table. It was blank. And then the light glows a little bit. She looks up, and now the cake has appeared. Ain't that great? But, which is kind of pointless. The cake gets brought out, all the candles lit. But meanwhile, some unpleasantness is taking place, and it doesn't even get eaten. So it's kind of wasted in a way. Now, the daughter, despite being mistreated by Elizabeth Jessup, the journalist, does have some genuine respect and admiration. she has occasion to be digging through some of her papers, and it's just pulling one out at random and looking at it like, wow, look at that. This is really interesting. She just has a lot of admiration. So, on the other hand, there's some sort of a place where she's supposed to speak at some event planned for later that day. So she can get herself dressed up, cleaned up, and show up. And it's her turn to speak. And at first she says a couple of things that are kind of funny and they're good things. And then she kind of starts going off into other crazy stuff. The mayor is at this event, and she was talking about, well, yeah, I was there when the mayor's clothes came off and blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, the daughter's like, okay, that'll be enough. Thank you all for the nice things you've been saying, but let me pull you aside here. Thank you all for listening to her. I'm not going to pull her aside. You're ruining it for us. You're embarrassing me. You're embarrassing your granddaughter, who's also at this event. So she has to kind of yank her off. And it becomes a real embarrassment. You see, Elizabeth, as I mentioned, Elizabeth Jessup is an alcoholic, full-fledged. It's messing up her own life. It's making life difficult for the people around her who care about her, the daughter, the granddaughter. It's just terrible. So they finally decide to bring in Alcoholics Anonymous, and maybe something a bit stronger than that, I think. Because this lady, we meet this lady. Come on. Here we go. We meet this lady. She doesn't look too friendly, if you ask me. And indeed, she's got the rather unpleasant job of coming between the grandmother and the other two close members of the family. In fact, you can't see them again until you get this problem under control. And he's like, how dare you? How dare you? This is so... Oh, man. He really objects to this whole thing. And, you see the reason, but at the same time, you can also kind of understand the feeling. At one point, she doesn't understand how serious this really is. She tries to come over to visit her daughter and granddaughter at the door. And due to instructions, the daughter's having none of it. No, don't even think of coming in here. Don't even think of it. And so she's understandably angry. So finally, it's like, you want to go? You got to come to one of these meetings. She comes to a meeting, and here's another interesting commentary, which I find intriguing. So she comes there, and she's told, no, you can't light a cigarette. You can't light a cigarette. You can't light a cigarette. Anyway, she told you can't light a cigarette here. I mean, there are other meetings you can go to if you want to smoke. Okay? This is a non-smoking meeting. And so, the lady's advising her to do it.
Listed in your directory. I can get you that. Fascist. This is why they want to get involved in this. They want to dictate every detail of your life. They're listed in your directory.
So, fascists. They want to control every little aspect of your life. That's kind of interesting that the folks who want to control every aspect of people's lives these days seem to be fond of calling other people fascists. And a little social commentary I had to insert there. Okay, so she leaves. Cigarette in hand, and says, I'm going to go home and have some champagne. So much for you guys. But the little granddaughter, against the advice of all of this, decides to show up on her own initiative. Because, I miss you, Grandma. So she goes at the house, and Grandma goes, okay, well, I can't really entertain you, so here's what I'm going to do. Here, Go in this room, watch the news, and I'll call your mom. Well, and have her pick you up. But instead of calling the mom, she just goes in the next room, drinks some more, smokes a cigarette, and it took some catching to get this shot. She falls asleep, and you can actually see where the cigarette is falling right there. There's the ash going down, ash end first. Caught it in mid-fall. Took a little practice to get that exact shot. But the cigarette falls out of her hands, lands on some newspapers down below, which catch fire. Next thing you know, the whole house is burning down while the little granddaughter is still sitting in the next room watching the news or whatever. And so, a big intervention. Very big. Monica has to carry the daughter out of the burning house. Very spectacular. I note, just for the record, that in the credits for the episode, Charles Rocket, Adam, is listed in the credits. But he must have ended up on the cutting room floor because we never see him. Even as a background figure, as far as I can tell. Certainly with no lines, no visible presence. Now, I don't know, maybe he's in the crowd somewhere or walks by in the street in the background somewhere. I can't guarantee anything about that, but basically he has no presence, no discernible presence. Monica was the one rescuing the little girl. Well, Elizabeth wakes up in the hospital kind of wondering, how did I get here? What's going on? The daughter's here. You don't know, do you? She says, oh no, just take me home, will you? Thanks for coming here. Just take me home. And she says, you don't get it. You just don't get it. You don't know what happened. And it's kind of funny in a way, but tragic to watch, Elizabeth, well, I don't know what happened. Maybe there was a problem with the furnace, or she probably at least half knows it had something to do with her cigarette, but she doesn't want to admit that to herself or anybody else. So she's wondering, the cause of the fire. She's completely forgotten the little granddaughter was in there too. Oh, there was a fire, but I seem to be okay. The daughter explains, no, somebody, Monica, but she couldn't tell, was seen by the neighbor carrying the granddaughter out of the house while you were passed out on the lawn. Now she really hits it for the first time that maybe her problem is a problem. She's beginning to be truly repentant. Well, there's a lot more coming in that area. Alright. She even looks in there. Although the daughter was rescued, there is some smoke inhalation. She's unconscious. I'm not sure the exact relationship there, but at least she's out, she's alive, and she will be fine. So now she's really looking like, now she's really sorry. She's actually praying, dear God, help me, please. I don't, I see now this is a big problem. And she comes back to the house. And Monica just is making an appearance on this one's the total opposite. In that first aired episode, we saw this glow that just filled the screen, and Monica's face almost fills the screen, and superimposed with the glow, and superimposed with a glimpse of the dying baby, of the mother of that baby, who's been shattered from that ever since, and, really wild. Now we get the opposite extreme. She appears, reveals who she is. No glow at all. By the way, we didn't see a glow in the second one about show me the way home either. But it's more of a conversation. It's not like I'm an angel. It becomes kind of unnecessary. So this is how it's interesting to see how that great moment comes, and it's a great God loves you moment here.
God loves you. Why? Because you're Elizabeth.
So no glow, but it's at home. God loves you. And somehow that one little toy that the granddaughter is so obsessed with is given intact. Probably another tiny intervention, I'm sure the fire would have destroyed it or damaged it considerably. So now, and she's really starting to realize it was the cigarette falling from her hand that started the fire. And she neglected that her granddaughter was in there. Almost would have killed her if there hadn't been a miraculous rescue. She agrees to go to the meeting. There she is. You see her kind of in the background, getting ready to take a seat in this meeting with our lady that runs this, whatever it is. And one of the first to get up to talk is her daughter. This is a birthday, we call it, because she spent a whole year sober. Congratulations on all that. And she's got a very emotional story, which I'm not going to get into because, don't get me wrong, it's very good. It's the strongest part. You've seen some good stuff, but, the strongest stuff is what comes between the daughter here and what she has to say, and now what the mother has to say. And it's an awesome reconciliation. You can see they're really on a good path now. So, again, it's really about the people, the personalities, what they're going through, and so forth. And other than a few angelic interventions, it could simply be an entirely realistic story. So, again, I think it's very emotional, very awesome, real tearjerker, good story, and I've really appreciated it, and it gets recollected multiple times. So that's what I'll have to say about that one. Thanks for listening.